Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Your Football Show. And we're back for, the first post-match reaction of the new season. I'm excited. I'm excited to bring everyone back together as well. We can talk about the game we've just watched, which I really enjoyed. It was just nice to see Leeds United again. A few interesting elements when we look at how we were set up tactically. Some players really impressed. Others, it seemed like had a continuation of last season. Joel, but we'll get into that. It is only the first game of the season and all that jazz. But yeah, it's great to be back. It was great to do the watch along. It was great to, it's just great to be back, innit? Let's welcome the fantastic guest. Joe, I'll come to you first, brother. How are you? How did you find the run out? How was it?
I'm just so happy to watch a team on a football pitch again. I love pre-seasons. I love seeing the new kits and the new players and the fresh cuts and the new boots and everyone walking out all ready to go. I really enjoyed it. As pre-season games go, they're usually walking fests, and I think we got a nice bit of tempo in that game as well from Leeds. Results aren't important. Performances are kind of important, but not massively. It's all about minutes and legs and dusting the cobwebs off. But great to be back and great to see a good performance. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it was really good. We've got a full house tonight. Check this out. Eve, I'll come with you. We haven't seen you for a bit. You're flashing the new kit there. How's things? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I loved it. I honestly thought that was one of the most entertaining pre-season games that I've seen for years, to be honest. They're usually very boring, just routine, seeing, people, being able to pass the ball back and forth. But I actually thought that was quite entertaining. It was more entertaining than the back half of the season, in all honesty.
Yeah, it was good.
So,
do you know what? I'm genuinely, right? I'm not even lying to you. I'm excited to see you all, and I'm excited to talk about Leeds United again. It's just class. I know, but just to have everyone here, I'm like, yay, we're back. Joe, how was it for you, man?
It was great. You can tell that I was really excited to watch some football that doesn't make me just want to scream at the telly. Thanks, England.
Leave Southgate alone, man. Leave him alone.
Notes and everything. I was so excited. As I've mentioned, I've got some choice thoughts on a couple of players from that match, but some of them are very, very good thoughts. So I'm feeling pretty happy.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Same. Our brother from across the pond, Gabe. I don't know what time it is for you. Is it early? Is it late? But you're here. How did you find that, mate?
I paid £5 to watch that game, and I'm just sort of like, really? We're going to charge that much for preseason now, huh?
So that's mate. That's what I had to pay. We had to pay. It is what it is.
Yeah, is what
it's
it
your
is.
49ers crew, mate. It's your 49ers crew.
Me personally, I did this to the club. No, I mean, it was for me. It's about there's like 3 tiers, right? You have players who are established, you know what they are, and you're sort of just not really judging them. It's all about fitness for them. For the players who have been out for a while, I was sort of looking to see how they looked on their feet. Pascal in particular, liked what I saw. And then there are players where these preseason matches are really important. I would say for a number of them, like Gelhardt, I think it's probably important for him to make an impression on the manager. So that gives a little bit more nuance to kind of the watch. But other than that, it's a run out.
Fair.
I can't believe they're back already. Did you guys not feel like you should have a longer holiday? Or
I think it's because of the Euros, isn't it, and the Copa America and that. It's like there's been no break. Luke, mate, how was it for you, brother? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, as far as pre-season friendlies go, I don't think you can ask for much more. We got to see, as Gabe said there, we got to see some people that we're probably expecting to start in the 11, some people on the fringes, and then some good performances from the youth as well, which I was probably more happy with than anything today. So yeah, really happy with it. It was, run of the mill. They didn't really, I reckon the possession was probably 85-15, if an estimate. So we just went through the motions. But it was nice to see a new formation, because I'm pretty sure it was 3-4-3 to start with, which might be a new tactic we might employ against teams that we may struggle to break down.
Yeah. There was a lot I seen that I was like, oh, I like it. Before we get into all them little fine minutiae details, I've made notes, Joe's made notes. I know Joe normally tends to make notes as well, so we'll get into some stuff. But before we do, big up to Anthony Noon, who's just become a member. Boss Nass said on the stream for every goal that Leeds United score, he would stick a tenner on, and he has kept his word. So big up to you, Boss Nass. Someone did say if Harry Gray scores, you'll get 50, and then when Chambers scored, I went, that counts, doesn't it? But nah, it never. Big up to Dr. Cox as well with the super chat. Big up for that, mate. Right. I've got here back three. No wingers initially, sort of like James and Firpo. Firpo seemed to be coming in field a little bit. James giving us the width in the first half. Does that mean the end for Cree and Nonto kind of vibe, or is it just a case like? I know back in the day, like Norwich would play, say, Cantwell, Buendia, and then have like Onel Hernandez give him width, and that's what that felt like a little bit to me, like James giving width with maybe Firpo coming in, and I don't know, it seemed different, didn't it? It seemed different. I know, Joe, you like to look at it from a tactical aspect more than what I can say and stuff, you know. So I'll hand over to you, mate. What did you make to the setup from Leeds United?
I don't read a huge amount into formations in pre-season, especially the first game. I think it's about getting the bodies on the pitch that you want to get the most amount of minutes. You need a full 45 from the start. What I would say, however, if you were to go down a rabbit hole and try and look for reasons why, you're potentially looking at a team that started with no Nonto and no Somerville. Yeah. Which is maybe, well, what are the options should they leave? And if they do leave late in the window and you might not get the targets you necessarily need or want, what would it look like? And I think
this is how people get scared, Chair. This is how people get afraid and start posting tweets.
Oh, we know they're going.
Night.
I know they're going. They're going. They're gone.
Here we go with this.
They're going.
I'm set for them being gone, and that's okay, and I'm okay with that. So that kind of the way I looked at that, I just thought, yeah, there's a couple. I agree with what Gabe said as well about certain players. There's been a really important preseason. Tony Dorigo said it about Joffy, and I think it's a huge preseason for Joffy if he wants to still be in the club in 12 months' time. I think Firpo playing, coming inside a bit more. Well, he's a 10 now, isn't he? So he's kind of drifting. He's got to try and get in behind. What I really did like to see was Rothwell in the middle of the park and how often he was trying to thread balls directly through into the front men rather than, you know, the slightly diagonal ones left and right that we saw Crew kind of come in and do that when he came in. So that was nice to see as well. Set pieces are a little bit different this year than they were last year. There's a bit more height and width.
We scored from one.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, we did. It's a corner, man. That was a goal from a corner. I mean, I'm taking it.
Oh, yeah, I tried to tweet it. I was like, yeah. And then like, well.
Rutter hit the target with it as well. Like, it's all new things happening.
He was somehow falling over, though. Did you notice that? That like somehow he was still falling over. I was like, come on.
That's probably why he hit the target, Gabe, to be honest, because he fell over, you know.
He was landing on the ball and it shot off. But yeah, there was not a lot of nice things to see. I saw, contrary to what he said about a pre-season friendly usually being a walking fest, there was a lot of players busting. I got Dan James tearing around the park. And this is the part where it's if you're a player, it's in your interest to get whatever you can get out of preseason. So if you put the minutes in, if you put the miles in, if you push yourself in these games, you get the benefit from them further down the line. There's a couple of players that I thought didn't. I thought Pirro was quite static and on the fringes of the game. Looked a lot slimmer and trimmer than he has done, which is good. But I expected to see a bit more mobility from him. Didn't really see it. But it's only the first game, so I won't go too heavy on it. And I thought Joffy, when he came on, stood around and passed the ball a little bit. I didn't do a huge amount of running or pressing. And he always seemed to be just, you know, a little half a second behind everybody else. And when he was passing the ball, he was behind people and not in front of them. And he needs to be more active. Joseph burst around the park in the first 45 minutes. Harry Gray, when he came on, burst around the park. And Joffy, when he was in that number 9 position, stood and kind of walked. And you want to see more of that. He's got a point to prove this year and needs to really do it in pre-season and be more active. And I
thought Joffy was really good.
I'm talking about his work rate. I'm talking about running and movement, and I thought he was quite static and stay. If you watch it, he's walking an awful lot. He's not pressing. Again, it's the first.
He did more in that 45 than what Joel Pirro did.
In movement, maybe, but his mental acuity in terms of like, so he's as Jared was saying. For me, this is just maybe why I don't rate him as a player, but he always seems to be a step behind. The willingness is there, right? But just like when he plays the pass, when he makes the run, it's always a couple seconds off. And it's always like every time I watch him, it's that way. The best he is when the ball's at his feet. And honestly, that's not really the way we play, where he's running through 2 or 3 people. I mean, we have a couple of guys that do that. For me, it's really difficult as well to sort of, because so many other players don't have to prove anything. They're not going to give you their best effort. This is preseason. They're focused on getting fitness up and not getting hurt. And then you got a guy like Joffy who's trying to play his way into a team with a bunch of guys who aren't necessarily doing that. It's hard. It's not necessarily fair. And I won't lie, I haven't ever really rated the player, so I'm obviously maybe not the best to talk about Joffy, but I didn't think he didn't really he moved more than Pirro did, but other than that, I'm not sure how he affected the game any more positively than Pirro did.
That wasn't a lot more though. You don't really have to do much running to move more than Pirro. He was better.
I thought he was
10,
good personally. Genuinely, I thought he had a good game.
When he was in the 10, I thought he was better than he was in the 9.
Didn't they?
Go on, Luke, sorry.
Great. We didn't look great. Any of the 9s, I don't think. I think Joseph looked great. I didn't think Joffy when he played 9. So I felt that was again a problem position that we had last year, is getting the ball into the striker's feet to create goal scoring opportunities. It didn't happen again tonight. So when that happens, it's obvious that your number 9 is going to look stagnant and poor. But I thought they all have shifted. I wouldn't have said that. I don't think anyone was poor.
Yeah, I agree. No one was bad. Yeah.
No one's bad. But the point I'm making is the number 9. If you look at the first half, Mateo Joseph, when the ball goes into one of the other attackers, will make a run around the outside and to make an option. He'll run away wide to try and create some space. And he looks for the ball. And he's trying to get in behind the whole time, and he's usually ahead of the ball when it's being crossed in. Like that header that he missed was probably got there a little bit too early, but he was there too early. Or if you look at the second half when Joffy, and only when he was in the 9, not when he was in the 10. He was better when he was in the 10.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
in the 9, it's the ball's going into the box and he's not there yet. Or he's just started making his move into the box, and he's not. When the ball goes to Nanto and he's cutting inside, instead of getting either around the back of him to give him an option or to move away from him to create a bit of space, Joffy's running towards the ball into Nanto's space and bringing defenders with him and closing that space down. And it's little things like that, but I'm sure that will be ironed out over the course of preseason.
I love that we're you can't read it into it too much, and then all of us are like, now let's read it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why football's about opinions, because I'm genuinely surprised, because I thought Joseph was really good. I thought he moved really well. He got the assist for the goal. I thought his movement was sharp. And then I also thought Joffy was really good in the second half or when he entered the pitch. But again, football's about opinions. We all look and see different things, right? It is what it is. Joe, where do you stand on the Joseph Gelhardt chat, or just go through some of your notes, and then I've got some other bits we can talk about as well.
Yeah, I think something that I noticed was that, obviously we were playing 3 at the back, but we did it in a slightly weird way, in that one of the 3, depending on what flank we were attacking down, would push forward. So it was basically 2 at the same time. It was very fun and weird, and I like that. But further up the pitch on the various number 10s thing, I think the issue that we had with a Joffy and with a Pirou, and I genuinely think Joseph was decent enough as a number 9. It is still pre-season, so... but with the 10s, you could tell that anyone that was sat behind the striker was effectively told, right, you've got a license to go wherever you feel is right at that point. So when it was Somerville and Nanto, Somerville would drift all the way out to the left because that's where he's most comfortable, and he'd try and make stuff happen out there. With Nanto thinking, okay, I know how to work with this guy and cutting inside. Ruter would just be everywhere like he always does. And that's where I think we had the struggles with Pirou and Gelhardt, because they are people that have been traditionally trained as number 9s, and then very suddenly they're told, do your number 10 thing however you feel comfortable. And their way of comfortably doing number 10 is as number 9, which means that they're just sort of stuck in the middle being like, I guess pass to me and I'll try and find a pass onwards or something like that. But that was the general vibe I got. They didn't look comfy, I think.
Evie, I'm going to come to you because I want you to talk about Rothwell, and I want you to talk about the difference between him and Glenn Kamara, because I know you've been cooking me on my Kamara thoughts the last few weeks, so I think it's only fair I come to you on Rothwell.
I thought Rothwell was good. I enjoyed his corner. I enjoyed just how forward-thinking he was. They're a completely different profile, and I would have rather kept Kamara. I've got nothing against Kamara. My issue with the Kamara chat was everybody likes to villainize the 49ers. Everybody immediately is like, these owners are...
No, you're lying!
Don't chat bollocks. So, immediately it's let's villainize the 49ers, the same 49ers that have to deal with the aftermath of Victor Orta being given the company credit card for years, and they've somehow got to make us sustainable whilst being competitive. And then there's the player element of it, of Kamara's 28, 29? Ren have got a real opportunity to get into Europe next season, we're not getting into Europe for like the next 5-10 years minimum. So he's not going to be a first team player in 5 years, let alone 10 years. So I just don't. He has the right to go and play European football if he wants to. So a player has the right to choose their own. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't, cause any drama or upset. But he also didn't play for Rangers last year and was just waiting around, not having done a pre-season. So there is a little bit of potential history there that we literally got him because he hadn't done a pre-season for Rangers, because there'd been a fallout there, because he wanted a move. So the player does have a history of potentially doing it. I'm not saying he has done it. I'm just saying there's enough rumours for as much as us on the street are ever going to know about what players actually do behind closed doors. And I just think that if Somerville goes, and the likelihood is we're all in agreement, I'd love him to stay, but he's likely to be going, which means that the club have to play differently. Daniel Farke has to play differently. If you're not going to get, the likelihood is you're not going to replace Somerville's goals directly, which means the goals have to come from other areas of the pitch. We already know that area was never going to be Glenn Kamara because that's not his game, which had Somerville stayed, that would have been fine. If Kamara stays, Somerville stayed, no problem whatsoever. But if Somerville goes, we have to distribute those goals throughout the rest of the team. So you have to have a midfield that are willing to move forward and not just be a fancy Forshaw. So, that's my reason why I was okay, because for me, he did everything. He did the basics well. Was he incredible? Absolutely not. But he did what he did well. No hard feelings, nothing. And there's no kind of revisionism and saying, I was frustrated with Kamara all throughout the series, all throughout the season. And, I'd said that multiple times on your show before. So Rothwell looked good. It was nice that we were doing slightly different things with set pieces as well. I'm looking forward to potentially seeing something new, and that's probably the only good thing about Somerville leaving, is at least he won't be on corners anymore.
Am I the
although
person
it was his corner that scored? I
know. I immediately said, "Oh, great, Somerville's on a corner," and then he went and we scored about it. Fuck's sake.
So go on, Gabe. Sorry.
Am I the only one here that thinks it's still a 50-50 chance Somerville stays just because of money?
I do as well.
Yeah, I'll lay it out quickly because I don't want to spend too much time on it because I know we want to talk about the game. But at the end of the day, if you sell Archie Gray, a teenager with a lot of promise, for 40 million quid, you're not going to let go of Somerville, the player of the season, at 22 years of age. He's 22. That's not that much older than 18. Player of the season in the championship, astronomical numbers, and with an upside that still hasn't been met. We don't know where his ceiling is. You're not going to sell him for anything less than 50 million quid, are you?
Bro.
And it's
wild to think you're getting honestly, Gabe.
I'm not saying you get it. That's what I'm saying. The 49, Parag has no reason to sell this player if a bid less than that. And I don't think if you're anybody in the Premier League or in one of the other big leagues, I think, are you going to break all championship records for a single player sale for a guy who's had statistically one exceptional season? I think anybody in that hot seat making that decision is putting a lot of pressure on themselves to do it. So and Leeds do not have to sell for less. They don't. They do not need to do it. So I don't know why they would. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would sell him for less than 50 million quid.
But no one will pay for. I hear what you're saying. If your price is 50 million, no one's paying that.
Right.
But
and I think
that won't be the price.
It'd be less. Why? Why would the price not be less than that?
I think there's I think there's a piece on
maybe
this.
It'll be 30, 35. I'm telling you.
Why would it be? Why would it be less than Archie Gray? Why?
Archie Gray is a generational talent, bro. He's English tax, all this sort of stuff. It all matters, it does. There's no way, in my opinion, anyway. Somerville will go for 30 to 35 million. He won't go for
4
50.
years is a long time in football as well. I know there's not a lot of difference between 18 and 22, but when you're 18 and you can do the things that Archie Gray can do and playing the amount of positions and be so versatile and at his age, Chris Somerville can do for me one thing, and that's attack well down the left hand side. And I think. Yeah, but all good and well, he won player of the season and that. But I'm with Joe. I think we probably do sell him for less than Archie Gray.
Yeah.
But we're acting like he's. I would agree with he's 25 or older. Go ahead, Jared. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I don't think it's a 50-50 if he stays or goes. I think it's probably more 80-20 against him staying. But in saying that, I think there's been different things that have been said this summer about negotiations that Leeds have had with some players. Some clubs have got players off Leeds for cut price deals. Other clubs who are after, like Vauber and Somerville and Nanto, have described negotiations with Leeds as difficult. Because I think there are certain players that Leeds go, we know he's worth that, and we know we can get that even next year if we wait. We know we can get that, and we're not dropping on that. Whereas the likes of Rocket and Chris and whoever else are like, we're not going to get much more than this. Just get rid of him. There's a problem there as well, and like it's a baggage, and just get rid of it. So I think there's a situation with Leeds that Gladbach have described Leeds negotiations about Vauber as incredibly difficult and pulled out because of it. Everton, in one of the magazines today, one of their articles today, before the takeover stuff collapsed, described the Nanto situation as a deal they thought they would get done, but have found negotiations difficult. And I think Leeds are in that situation with Somerville. If Cree wants the Liverpool move, now Team Talk are saying it's Chelsea, but Team Talk never get anything right, so it could be Chelsea or Liverpool. But if he doesn't get the move that he wants this season, and Leeds don't get the valuation of the player that they want, does the player want to move? He's already said no to Brighton. So does he say, I'm not until I get the move, I'll do it again, the Championship, I'll smash it up, and then I'll get the move next year, or I'll go to Premier League with Leeds, and then I'll get the move. But I think it's in that bracket. If Leeds don't need to sell, and I still think that's questionable right now, looking at the numbers that have gone out, right? Not all of them, the ones that were around last year. Mm-hmm. But I think if they don't have to drop their valuation and they're sticking to that valuation, it will be a case that unless a Liverpool or Chelsea hit that number, they might not wiggle or might not drop on it. The player himself is not kicking up a fuss to leave. He has said he won't force a move. So he's happy to sit there and wait until the right move for him comes out. If it doesn't happen, maybe he's still here. But I think it's likely to be a similar situation to Sinister. I think if he does go, it'll be very late in the window, or it'll be the next week. But ideally for Leeds, the best scenario is if him and Nanto are going to go now. So Leeds have time to get a proper replacement in and bed that person into the team.
I think that's the crux of my argument, Jared. I generally agree with what you're saying. I think that for me, you would have to fundamentally change the way this team is going to play if you sell Crescencio Somerville. And he's going to go if we don't get promoted next season anyway. So, like, he'll be gone. He's not going to.
He's only got 2 years left on a deal, though.
Yeah,
as well,
exactly.
Right? So in a year's time, you get even less. Like we're lowballing Sheffield United for Jadon
if you don't go up. If you don't go up,
yeah,
right.
It's also
if we sold Crejo, and I guess anybody else,
yeah.
Honestly, realistically, whether we sold him 40, 50, whatever, how confident would you be in our promotion? And you know,
I would still be confident.
Really, I would not.
Yeah.
I think we overrate the Championship sometimes. The Championship is not a good league, and last season was absolutely an outlier. I think,
maybe.
Do you think if we don't have Somerville, that's it?
No, but I think it becomes a lot harder.
I've already come to terms with him not being here, though. I think a lot of fans have.
Nanto was the sharp player coming into start of last season before he went on strike. He was the player to watch in the league, more so even than Somerville. And yet when Dan James came in, who was not a good player for Leeds and shouldn't be at the club anymore, ends up being probably a better option than Nanto. So if you can get another style of winger, it doesn't have to be like Craig, it can be more direct winger. But if you can bring in another winger, I don't think it fundamentally changes how we play, because how we play was just give the ball to Craig. They just distribute the ball more.
We changed the way we played tonight, which I know you said it isn't a thing, but that is a definite sign to me that we're changing the way we play. With both halves, we played
really.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
We played 3 in the fourth.
Why would you start pre-season with 3 at the back if you're not going to fucking play it? It makes no sense.
Like Jared said earlier, to get as many players as you want to see on the pitch at the same time.
I disagree. Like Bielsa didn't come out and say, right, I'm going to play 5 at the back. No, well, just because you're a coach, it doesn't mean you're right.
Pre-season, mate.
But it doesn't mean you're right, though, does it? Just because you've coached before, does it mean you're right?
I'm wrong either.
No, but no, exactly. That's the point. But I don't see a point in Leeds United in both halves having 3 centre-backs if they're not even going to look at that. It makes no sense.
3 centre-backs in the second half. They had Charlie Cruz sitting in front of 2.
No. They had Byram on the right. Yeah, they did. In build-up, they had the 3. They had the 2. But out of possession, there was 3.
It wasn't Byram, because Byram was playing right
just
back.
Going back to the point about
bring it home, Luke.
This is what it looked like in the first. This is what it looked like in the first half. That's what it's looked like in the second half.
Wasn't De Bayo playing on the left?
Yeah. Just switch them 2 round. That's trivial, isn't it, Joe?
Well, yeah.
But but that's how it looks.
We know what Joe's OCD is like. But yeah, just going back to the point about Somerville, I disagree slightly with what you said there, Gabe. I think I do agree that he's going to be difficult to replace in his numbers, but I just feel that a left winger and to be able to do what Somerville does is much easier to replace in terms of positioning it. And when we're comparing prices, and I don't want to get back into how much we think we're going to get for Somerville,
right?
But actually, if the club see we can get 35 million for him this window with 2 years on his deal, then they're probably going to take that. If we can replace him with a 10-15 million pound option that could do a job, but probably not as well as Somerville, they'll see that as a win.
I see what you're saying. I'm not saying that, you know, if we end up selling him, that we're absolutely 100% doomed. I'm just saying that if he's at 22 years old, if he were 25, I would say, haggling over 10, 15 million quid doesn't make sense. But he's 22 years old, player of the season, top four clubs want him. I say you hold it 50 million, say not a penny less. And if we don't get up this year, we're gonna have to sell him anyway.
Do that.
Yeah,
I'd love that. I would love that.
I'll be very disappointed in Parag if he sells for less. That is what I'm saying.
Just to jump in, sorry to cut anyone off. Adam Pope's just said, Farke confirms Bamford will play some minutes in Germany after reintegration after surgery. Vorba due back and, like Aronson, will be brought back into the fold. Cooper and Draman's future expected to be elsewhere, which also might link up to the back three as well, with Vorba playing as a left-sided.
Evie, was that your hand up to talk? Or
yeah, go on, sorry. Go on.
She wants the toilet.
I like to be polite and take my turn. One of the things that I will say is I think we're all drastically undervaluing Somerville in terms of his goal contributions, not just his actual goals, but overall goal contributions, because we all couldn't agree on whether the number 9 position looked okay today, which that for me, considering how many goals Somerville scored last season, if you take Somerville's goals out of that game and you put in the same number 9s that we did have available to us last season without improving that, we don't have people that we actually guarantee to trust in that number 9 spot. So we relied heavily on our wingers, and if we get rid of all of our wingers, i.e., I'm not saying Dan James because I absolutely love Dan James. I've got number 20 on my back because I love Dan James. But if we get rid of Nonto and Somerville, that's a hell of a lot of goals, regardless of the paddy that he threw at the beginning of last season. He still did contribute. He still did win us games. So if you take those goals away from our wingers and we don't replace the number 9s, we're not getting anywhere near the goals that we got last season.
You're also assuming we're not going to replace the wingers, which we would. The club have already said if the
somebody who can get
can be replaced with similar caliber players, so that's already been. So we're not losing Nonto and Somerville and not signing anybody.
But 30 goal contributions, Chair. Who do you get? Who do you get?
Sammy Smodic. I don't want Smodic, by the way, but that's an example.
We'd love him, but you won't get him.
It is a good example. I think he's probably going to go to a lower tier Premier League team. I think for me, what Evie's saying, 30 goal contributions from a single player is very, very, very difficult to replace at this level by outside signing. One of the reasons we had Somerville is because we signed him for nothing. Not nothing, but part of the reason we have Nonto, and that's why it's imperative to try to go up as quickly as you can if you get relegated, because the longer you stay in this division, the more these players go. And I think if you sell Somerville, sure, I mean, academically, you could bring in a number of pieces for the money you'd get, who could supplement that number. Does it fundamentally change the way we play? Do defenses address us completely differently? I mean, Somerville's dragging 2-3 players every time he has the ball. Fundamentally, you would have to change the way you approach a match. Hopefully, Farke could do it. I just think that what I really want. Joe, we've talked a lot about how maybe I go a little bit easy on the 49ers. I would not go easy on them if they sold Somerville for anything less than 50 million quid. I think it would be a monumental mistake. But
can I just ask, right? And again, I hear all the points on Somerville, right? Does anyone actually think if he's sold that we get 50 million plus? 50 or plus?
40 is a realistic number.
I think 35, 40 is looking like the sort of discussed number-ish. Because you need to remember that Archie is a lot more versatile and younger.
I hear everything like you say, Gabe, but I'm like, 50 million for a Champo play, it won't happen, man.
I'm just saying that's the calculus. If I'm in the 49ers, I would say, I don't care if anybody comes in for him or not. I don't have to sell him now. I have to sell him next season if we don't go up. Right now, I do not have to sell. So my price is 50. If somebody wants to take a risk and come in, and by the way, if I were in the Premier League, I wouldn't take a risk of 50 million. It's intentionally pricing people out or teams out from a realistic bid so you can keep hold of your key asset. But it's not so astronomical. 10 million quid more than Todd Bowley would do it. Wouldn't Clear Lake do it? They would do it.
Is he still a key asset in a year's time when there's only 12 months left on his contract?
Yeah, it's effectively a £20 million gamble. It's effectively, if we don't go up this season, then we've lost what would be about 20 million quid on a Somerville fee because he's only got 1 year left and everyone knows you have to sell at that.
We would lose more on the lack of parachute payments and not getting that Premier League money. You know what I mean? So I think that's the risk you take. That's the calculus.
It's the same with different caliber of player, but if Leeds sit on Junior Firpo contract this year and don't offer him a new deal and keep him at the club for the year, they're gambling on that contract of getting you promoted to Premier League as one of the best left backs in the league if you can do it in the second half of last season. You're doing the same thing. You're hoping that gets you up and then you can look at a better option or a different option or give him a new contract, whatever it is. I think it's the same with Craig, but I do think the difference is last year 49ers, I think, clearly thought they were going to get promoted automatically because they sat and said no one's going anywhere. You're all staying. I think this year they're looking at it from a different perspective. If you go back to last year, it was Daniel Farke's comments where we want to build a young team that's sustainable and can go into the Premier League and grow. It didn't happen. He also didn't want championship experienced players just to get out of the division. I think this year we're seeing very much a buy championship players to get you out of this division, and everybody else has a price. And I think if that price is hit, they will go. And I think that goes for everybody because I think that they believe they've got backup options that can get them out of the league regardless. And there might be a bit of ego and arrogance in that, but we don't know.
If they manage to keep Somerville, I genuinely would be massively shocked. Massively shocked, genuinely. And
though, it's a flag in the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll hold my hands up. Yeah, 100%.
And that's what you want to see. That's what you want to see.
Hell of a statement.
Flag in the ground.
Can we get reaction to Vorba then? Because that shocked me. Because I don't know why he's not gone to the game. Because obviously Aronson did. I know Aronson wasn't involved, but he was there. The
big
reports, big neck, put on weight. Yeah, did. Yeah, but what's the initial reaction to Vorba? Is anyone shocked? I genuinely am shocked.
I am. I thought he'd be gone.
Yeah.
And I was okay with that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I was ready to tweet something derogatory to him, to be honest.
That's not like you, Leo.
Like I did Christensen because he'd gone tonight, and the club deleted my tweet, hid the tweet straight away.
I'm actually not that surprised, and here's why: because there's no major competition for him to play into this season. If Leeds don't go up, he'll get his move away. And then he'll gear up towards. I don't actually know if Austria is qualified.
That is so solid, by the way. I'm not getting past that.
Ridiculous.
You're not getting past it, are you? It's so fucking strong. I hate Vorba, but my God, I'm I don't care.
I'll play with 3 centre halves because if one of them gets hurt,
everybody's calling him the warrior again, and welcome.
Yeah. We'll flip on a dime once he puts in some good performances then.
Yeah. This is a good point to remember, though. I think you've got more chance of Vorba exiting than Aronson. I think Aronson's solid. He's in-house. He's staying. The Vorba one, I still would be a bit sceptical, maybe.
Yeah, I was well.
But yeah. Ampadu captain.
Long release clause, Joe.
Yeah, well, God, I've seen you getting into that. I was like, bloody hell. But what Ampadu captain? I thought it might have gone to Strauch at half-time, but it looks like now that Ampadu's... Yeah, he's the captain.
I still think Strauch will be first choice captain come the start of the season.
Do you not think he'd have switched the armband though? Because if Cooper would have come on, he would have switched it.
Not in a friendly. I just don't think.
Ampadu did the press before the game as well.
Yeah, I think it might be Ampadu. You know,
I think it only comes down to reliability, doesn't it? I mean, Strauch gets hurt 5, 6, 7 matches per season. I think, and Ampadu's. I mean, they were going on about it in the broadcast, weren't they? About how he's sort of Mr. Dependable for this team. You know, all things being equal, it's good to have 2 guys like that in the changing room and on the pitch. And by the way, Strauch looked like a unit today.
Yeah, he did.
Didn't he? Like, I was he was one of the players I was watching, and I guess look at Evie, but as a former center half, I wanted to see how he moved after the injury, especially the kind of injury he had. It can really affect your mobility. Not only did he look mobile and the kind of other stuff that you'd expect from him, good passing and things like that, but physically, his physicality I thought was just improved, and that's always something I thought that was a little bit missing from his game. So. I'm excited to see what he does this year.
Just quick question there. What would people make to that? Back 4 or back 3?
For me,
I'd say back
I think
with them 3.
Yeah, I think the back. I think
So
the back
solid.
three. I think the back three is a complete. And just going back to when you were talking about Rothwell, I think it was Evie. I think the fact he looked so good and had so many options in front of him playing forward, and the reason why, was because he had Dan James to his right, and he almost had a striker in front of him, and then Rutter to his sort of
Firpo was
right
there as
diagonal.
well, wasn't
So he had all these great attacking options in front of him. When it's easy to look good when you've got so many different options and lots of movement, that's what we've needed all the time. But I think we might see a couple of different formations. I think we might revert back to the 4-2-3-1 for games that are a little bit more open, because it showed it worked. The games that were open last season, we won. You know, your Leicesters, your Ipswiches. However, I think games where we're struggling to break teams down, we probably will have a back three and then just fuck loads of attackers.
Yeah.
Depends on if you sign Bogle or not, I think. If you sign Bogle, I expect a 4-2-3-1. But
I was just going to say, because Evie was talking about the agenda against the 49ers, I seen Rothwell had picked up the number 8 shirt and went, he's took Kamara's shirt, we're not signing another number 8 now. And then by the end of the game, we've won 3-0. Jayden Bogle's coming to Leeds, apparently, according to Sheffield United Star. He's not going to be playing against Chesterfield tomorrow.
Graham Smith said it as well.
Yeah, that looks like it'll happen.
Did Graham get a scoop?
No, it was from Sheffield.
Let's be real. Graham Smith's not scooping anything this year. They've frozen him out.
No one. Nancy's doing a piece on the playoff final tomorrow. Sorry. I was sorry.
I don't care. Can I just say that? I don't think what's going on with Nancy. No, but she's getting daggers and stuff online. I don't think it's fair. No, I just don't think Leeds is a priority to the Athletic. When Leeds got relegated, they humoured the square ball and everybody else by giving them giving them Phil Hay for another year. But they're covering the Premier League. They're not interested in the Championship. And we stayed down. They went, here's somebody who's going to do it on a part-time basis.
12 months it'll fold, you know. Is that why? I think it's going to turn in on itself, the Athletic. It went from being this whole shiny new thing, and then from a football, now you've got Ornstein and a few others. It's not, I don't know, you'll be able to tell me more, Gabe, because it's actually from the States, right?
New York Times on it.
As somebody that lives in America, I can tell you everything that happens here stateside. 350 million people live in this country, Joe. But let me call my friend at the Athletic, actually. But no, I will say this, though. You are right about what you're saying.
To be fair, Joe knows the king because obviously, as us Brits, we all know the royal family.
Go on, Evie!
Yeah. No, when I was at university, Evie, actually, here in the States, I had an English friend come over, and somebody from Alabama, a state I do not spend a lot of time in, did ask them if they ever hung out with the princes, and I just hung my head and walked away. It's humiliating. But no, honestly, Joe, like for what you're saying, I'm not saying it's not partially true. The Athletic invests in the major leagues. At the end of the day, the Championship it's not going to expand the reader base. Let's just put it that way. So.
Yeah. Bogle coming in then, happy with that. But going back to that back three chat as well, like there you go, and is he going to play instead of James? Like I don't know.
Dan James will play further forward, won't he? Because
yeah,
Dan James. I mean, you won't have Joel Pirro on the left wing realistically come the start of the season when you've got enough players. So Dan James will either play right wing or left wing, and then I anticipate, providing Somerville's still here, he'll play on the left. Yeah. And then you got Dan James and Nonto as options then as it stands.
Yeah, Evie, can you just chat to Nigel a minute? He's put it a couple of times. Nigel, is there anything you want to speak about Evie in particular?
Give Evie a chance.
Yeah, go on, Evie. Go on, Evie. Give us some chat.
One thing I actually did want to say about the whole we played better when teams came at us last season. Does anybody feel slightly concerned that obviously we are now, I know we're always the big fish in the Championship, but there's no competition now for that title. We are top dogs in. But when you look at in terms of the teams that are in there now that are going to sit back, there are going to be more teams than there was last year that are going to sit back, and those are the teams that we drop the points to. The teams that came at us, Ipswich, Leicester, they came at us and we absolutely annihilated them. And I think now that you've got Scott Parker in at Burnley, I think had they have kept company, I'd have actually been really confident against Burnley because they played attacking football. But I just that does concern me because every game that we played a low block, we were just frustrating as hell because the build-up was too slow. I know, Joe, you used to absolutely, pull out imaginary hair. And, whenever we build
hair, just on your head. There is other hair.
Pulls it out of his chest like.
I love that she emphasized the imaginary bit. That was that's
there's loads going on here.
That's cold. Absolutely cold. I can't get out of this light.
But that concerns me, which is where the creativity side. Yes, we beat Harrogate, and it was for a pre-season game. I thought we did well. But we were also allowed to make as many changes as humanly possible. And it took those changes in order for us to actually put Harrogate to bed. And we're going to be facing that low block type of system
a lot more
this season than we did last season. So for me, that's a concern because we didn't sort it out we may have won some of games against low block teams, but they were the hardest games that we won. So that does concern me.
I think there's a couple of differences. I wouldn't be reading into the Harrogate game as not being able to break them down, only scoring 3 goals against them. I wouldn't read into that at all.
Pre-season, yeah.
We could have drawn 0-0 or 1-1 in that game, and it really wouldn't have mattered. Because I guarantee you, Farke is walking off that park and not looking at the tactical performance. He's walking off that park going, "What are your stats from your GPS vest? Like how much work have you got through today?" So that's what he's looking at. I think there's a couple of. It's a good point, but I think there's a couple of significant differences. You've got a Joe Rothwell coming into that team, whether he's an impact sub off the bench or whether he starts, who is a progressive passer and looks to tread lines and will shoot from the edge of the box and gets a couple of goals. That's a difference in middle of the park that we didn't have last year. The other part to that as well is if you're bringing an Aronson in there as well, you've got a different type of number 10 who, again, will look to try and go between the lines and break people down and run at people and will pick up the ball deep, turn and go at teams. Whereas sometimes when last year the ball was going into the middle of the park, it would slow down. And I talked an awful lot last year about tempo being the biggest problem that we had, that when we slowed the game down, we couldn't break teams down. But when we sped it up, we could. We were very, very good. And I think that you'll see a bit more of that this year. I think there's more players that have a little bit more guile and a little bit more nous to be able to unlock doors a bit more than we had last year. Last year was a steady, good midfield. This year is a little bit more of an attack-minded midfield, and I think there's more in it this year.
I'm genuinely, I don't know if it's... I know I'm a passion merchant, right? And my moods go up and down like you would not believe, right?
It's the summer heat, Joe. It always gets you agitated.
But do you know what, though?
The winter heat gets it as well.
After this game, and I don't know if it's just because I've seen Leeds play, right? But I'm like, oh my God, Bogle, Firpo, Vober, Strout, Rodon. You've then got Aronson, Rutter, and all these little different parts. I'm like, already I'm like...
You're excited about Brendan Aronson?
Oh, I can't wait, mate! I've already called it. Really? He'll be great next season. Genuinely, he'll be great.
I hope that's true. I'm skeptical, but I hope you're right.
I think he'll be classing the Champo. I think he'll have too much for him. Like the way.
And we saw both midfielders shoot.
Yeah, true.
Both midfielders actually shot today. I mean, again, going back to what Joe said, there's not a lot reading into preseason games, but the fact that they've been given a license to shoot, it felt very much last season that they just gave it to Somerville or somebody who can shoot between Gruev and Kamara. But actually, even go into any game and just actually have that license, Rothwell had a couple. Gruev's was going in the top bins as well, by the way, if it weren't headed. So yeah, just to have that additional, and I think that's where I stand, and that's why I slightly disagree with you, Jer, about don't take this formation don't pay any attention, because I think they will use this formation, and I think this is when we will use it when we do struggle to break down teams.
I said that before Bober, by the way, because we didn't know where the third centre back was going to come from.
So was Joe right then? Is that what we're saying?
No,
I think you might with Bober sticking around.
The non-coach was right. I'm just saying.
As you always say, Joe, I made a statement based on the information I had at that time.
You're joking, man. Listen, we're just having fun.
I'd be very surprised if Farke changed up. He's been a 4-2-3-1 manager with the huge predominance of his career, and he's not particularly known to be tactically experimental. Let's just say that. It could be something we see.
Did you miss the 3-1-6 we played several times last season? You couldn't score a goal.
The unintentional experiments by
you wait for A license, mate. You wait for A license into next season, man. I'm coming for Joe's
job. The England job.
yeah, exactly. I'm coming for the top job. Can we talk about Harry Gray, 15, coming on the pitch?
Charlie Crew as well. He really impressed me.
Yeah, talk about
Charlie Crew.
Talk
Like
about
I haven't seen that much of Crew, to be honest. And first of all, I was surprised at how physically mature he is for a kid his age. Like that was a little bit surprising. It's one of the questions you always have about kids coming through, and how are they going to adapt to a game where people just kick at you. But his willingness to pass the ball forward and to move it quickly and inch perfect as well, very concise.
Little shoulder drop as well.
Yeah. He showed me a lot in a short period.
He should have had a red card, if we're being totally honest, because that was a shocker.
Well, same from Gelhardt as well. I was like, "What are you doing, Joe? Like this is not
that
the way
challenge
to go."
when you watched it back. I thought, but
Fucking nasty.
Yeah. But I was impressed with how old is Charlie Crew? 15, 16?
No,
I think
he's
he's
Older,
18.
he's 18.
No, it's the other grade that's 15, 16, right?
Yeah.
15.
All right, well, that makes more sense. If I was like, God, he's a 15-year-old.
Charlie Crew's 18. Yeah, he's 18.
All right, cool. That makes more sense then. But yeah, I mean, he might be ready to step in and play significant minutes this season. I know it's just one preseason match. I'm just saying. I mean,
Be nice.
that's why we're all tuning in. It's for Jared.
I'm being nice. He said he's only watching because Jer's on, so I'm saying
you.
thank you.
He's talking to the guy who posted it, Joe.
Oh, right. Oh, you're
they're both-
talking about
they're both-
Seamus. I've missed this. I can't.
They're both
sure if
just on Crew and
Give over,
and
Joe.
Jack. I can't believe how big they are for their age, man. When I
Yeah.
was 15 years old, I still had a mustache and that. You know what I mean? I was
Wanking
really
into
young,
socks, weren't you, mate?
Yeah, just getting pissed on
There we go.
MD 2020
That's what we
before
are
a game and that. You know what I mean? But yeah,
It's
just
true,
the
man.
maturity. They just you stuck them on that pitch tonight, and they didn't look out of place against the League Two side. And that, there's a lot to be said for that. I think both. I think we'll probably see more of Crew this season than we will Harry. Over the course of the season.
Is there an age restriction? Like, does he have to be because in the FAU Cup he wasn't allowed to play for under 18s because he was too young when the competition started. And I'm wondering, is there a similar age restriction on the championship where if you're not like over 16 you can't play? But I don't know.
Not that I can
I
think
wonder.
of, because we had Bellingham showing up in weird matches like that, didn't we? I think.
There's no minimum age, so I just googled it. I'm sorry, I should have done it before I said it.
There is a minimum age of responsibility, though.
Anything other than 6'5" and built like a brick shit house when he was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Luke came out looking the size he did.
Yeah. No hair, beard.
No.
I was the kid who could get served like from the age of 12 for beer and that, and then just never carried on growing.
Luke, how long does it take? I know you did the mustache this summer, or at the end of the last season. How long did it take to grow the full beard back?
I've had this
4
shaved
hours.
a couple of times. It doesn't take long. A few weeks,
Nice.
couple of weeks. I'm just wishing it'd grow here.
This is all 26 years right here. This is
All
all
right.
I've got.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually. He made his debut for Exeter.
Exeter,
15?
yeah.
Exeter. So yeah. Any other final thoughts that anyone wants to add that we've not touched on? Any notes they've made? Anything? I've really enjoyed. I could talk to you all night. I can't lie. It's great to have this back. I don't have
Marco
friends.
without the
You
coat.
see, you are my real friends. So when I can do this, I'm like, oh, friends. I'll finish this and then go cry myself to sleep.
Rocking.
Yeah.
I thought the kit looked pretty sharp, I have to say.
Yeah, it
when I
did.
saw it on the
I
players,
agree.
I thought it looked
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
And that blue training top is nice, the blue and yellow.
Yes,
like that.
very nice.
Yeah. I know
You
we
think
were all
that'll be
freaking
the-
out about it, but
Will that be the colour
does
scheme
look
for
nice,
the
I
away one? Do you think? Like, just flipped that blue with the Red Bull and then yellow? Because it was quite a bright yellow, wasn't it?
It was very bright.
Yeah. Darlow's not the man. I can tell you that much. Darlow
That's
has
true.
not
Save,
saved.
though. He did make a save, which was great.
Did make a save, but
I know, but his distribution is just
He almost
bizarre.
caused 2 goals.
Yeah.
And they
He's not
they
that-
didn't have a
he's not the
chance
guy,
other
is he?
than Fowler.
he's not
No.
that type
No.
of goalkeeper. He's an old school type goalkeeper that doesn't want the ball at his feet pretty much. He just, he great shot stopper. I anticipate, because fuck knows what else he can do.
You meant that,
Um,
didn't you?
If you want me to speak nicely about Melier, get me talking about Darlow. Because it's just...
Yeah, like
tragic.
Ampadu came. I know this isn't not normal, but like Ampadu took one of the goal kicks at one point, and I was a bit like, oh,
That's a
what's
new
going
thing.
on?
All the centre backs
Yeah, I
are doing.
think
They take the
maybe
kick out
it
now.
is, yeah.
It makes more sense,
Oh.
doesn't it? If they're better passers, but yeah.
Are we all at peace with the fact that Melier is going to be our goalkeeper there?
Yeah,
I'm fine with that in the championship. No issue at all.
Yeah.
especially with them three in front of him. If we go with that back three, fucking hell, try break
He
that
should have very
down.
little to do.
We're gonna have to like Volber, aren't we? We're gonna have to get on board.
I did do a quick check on some cheeky numbers, and to be fair, I've solved the goal scoring problem at the same time. Vuba scored the most goals of any player for France in the Euros.
And he outscored Brendan Aronson in the Bundesliga last year and had more assists than him in the Bundesliga last
Someone's
year.
been hanging on to that joke for a couple of weeks. We're ready to unleash it. Good man. I like it.
Things to say when the season starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I'm looking forward to it. I still don't know if we're not going to get the Germany games, are we? Don't look like
We're going to get them on telly.
No,
Now,
I don't know.
Bryn said
That'll
something about
be
that.
15 quid.
At the very end of the stream, Bryn said there will be detail on the games next week
Right.
to watch.
Okay. I hope
Might be
so.
audio only.
Maybe we'll find out. Yeah.
Do you not remember once when it was audio only and we had somebody stream
Gestures with the face.
the video? Do you remember one of the pre-seasons last season when it was meant to be audio only, and we had the what you call it? Somebody was filming the game, I think, or something for the, and they managed to connect the wires up, and we were all watching it.
It was the Ipswich game, so it was in August. It was the Ipswich game, and they hadn't turned the feed off for the pre-game, like, you know, when they do all the interviews and everything before. So then we were watching it live. I was actually watching it whilst I was on holiday, but they didn't turn it off. So we got about 30 minutes of the game.
Oh no, this is a different occasion. This was a pre-season because I was at the Ipswich game, so I wouldn't have seen that. Yeah. So it was anyway. I don't know how they did it.
Corner flag.
I think they
camera.
They film it for highlights, don't they? They film every game to take the highlights anyway, whether it's been streamed or whatever. And they left it on, so everyone was going through this YouTube channel and everyone was watching it. It was Tasha LUTV apparently. I don't know about that.
There was one game during the season that they accidentally streamed it on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Fuck knows.
Anyway.
Sure, hopefully we'll get the Germany game because, yeah.
Are you feeling a little happier, Joe?
I can't lie, I'm so much better, Evie. Yeah.
Just remember this day when they sell Somerville for 45 million and Joe just goes ballistic on Twitter.
No, because honestly, I think we'll get 30 to 35, bro. And to be honest, I'm already content with him going. If I'm being honest with you, I want Somerville and Nonto gone now because I know they will go. So just get them gone, and because all I've been hearing, and I hear it, and everyone tells me to relax and that, and I get it, right? But it's like they're clearing the decks and all that, which I agreed with about a week and a half ago. But now I'm like, we're still in that process. So like, just get rid of Somerville, get rid of Nonto, get rid of Oba, which now sounds like he's staying. So okay, that's sorted. I don't think Farke would have said it if he wasn't. Do you know what I mean?
He made promises last year that he broke.
He did. No, you're right.
A manager's job is also PR.
Yep.
Part of it.
Yeah.
He's our player until he's not.
Yes, yeah, it's true. It's true.
I did respect Aronson though for coming, you know, and for being there.
Yeah.
Because, I do think that will have taken some guts to do that because surely he must know the fact that he was not a liked man last season. So fair play to him for being there
and he's been signing autographs post-match. They've been putting pictures up, so
fair dues.
Yeah.
Clean slate this year. I think
He'll never be a clean slate.
For me, it is. I don't mind.
He gets I said it before. He gets a buy for me because he never spoke to Farke and was gone before Farke ever came in, and because when we signed him, it was the day after a season ended and it was announced. When he left Leeds, it was the day after the season when he joined Leeds. And then when he left Union Berlin, it was the day after the season. And that just kind of felt to me like a player who decides what he's doing next year really early and then just goes and does that. And he never spoke to Farke, never met with him. And, you know, Farke came in after he'd already gone. Vober's different. He wore the armband. He told him he was staying. He was going to be his captain for a season, and he buggered off the first chance he got. And he has been twerking for a move back to Gladbach since the second half of the season, talking about how much he wants to be there and how great the club is. He's coming home to Leeds because they can't afford him. And Leeds have held firm on that one. So if Leeds wanted to discount that sale and let him go, they could have. And they didn't. They held on to it and said, no, you're not getting him for a cup price deal. And now he's back with Leeds. Look, there's two sides. One side is from a purely playing perspective. That's a hell of a back five. That's an incredible. And if he does go to the back four, that's a hell of a bench to have a cover on the bench as well. The other side of it is the emotional side of it. It's side before self, and you're not that guy. You're not a warrior. You're not the guy you make yourself out to be. When it got tough last year. You took tail and went. So now the argument will be he wanted to play in the Euros. He's coming back to Leeds because there's no Euros or World Cup at the end of this year. So he has a year with Leeds to get into the Premier League, to get back into, to worry about the World Cup next season. That'll be the argument that'll be made. But for me, it's a similar situation to Willie Gnonto last year. He has making up to do before I get on board. I will never boo a Leeds player. I will never abuse a Leeds player. When he puts the shirt on, I will support the team. And if he's in that team, I will support that. But I'm not going to be a big fan of the guy until he proves that he's genuinely committed to this. And until that transfer window closes, I don't think you can say with Max Bober that that's the case.
Yeah, fair point. Fair point. I mean, for me, just historically, I just think they've all got a point to prove. The ones that we've allowed to come back, and it's a very, very small opportunity to sort of show their worth. I think they've probably got 5 games. If they're not playing well in 4 or 5 games, the crowd will soon turn on them and remember.
Yeah. Looking at that, folks, I mean, listen, I'm taking Somerville out, right? But outside of that, you replace Somerville with someone adapt,
Yes, Rutter.
Dan James.
Rutter James. So even without any additions, Bogle's an addition, but it looks like it could be done. It's looking very strong, that, isn't it? If we're being totally honest, that looks very, very strong.
Yeah, you just need to swap Joseph for Bamford as well.
Don't start them off. I like it. I think it'll be Gruev. To be honest, Gruev goes where Aronson is, and then Aronson goes where Somerville is, or James. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, Aronson will probably play as a.
I don't mind Aronson as an 8 though.
Do you not?
Sitting with us carrying the ball and that. I don't mind it. I just don't think he's probably physically enough to win the ball and be sensible enough. But I wouldn't mind him trying him in there. Certainly in the pre-season, that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you go back to this, I know we're all still worried about incomings, right? But if you look at that team that you've just put up on the screen versus the team that lined up against Birmingham, where it was Ayling, Creswell, Stroke, Byram, Gray, Ampadu, James, Pavetta, Shackleton, Gelhardt.
Yes, yeah.
So even if we start the season with that and the signings don't come in until closer to the end of the window, that's still a much better 11. And the bench has got some exciting young talent there with Crew and a few others there. Sam Chambers tonight was very good as well. Rotwell there as well. And Luca Thomas is a talented young player as well. So there's some exciting bits to that bench as well. That's what we'll need to get padded out with more quality, so Farke can actually use the entire bench. But that's a much stronger team than we started last season.
Does that give us a bit of a reality check, Joe? Because actually people have been going mad that we've not been bringing all these signings in.
He's given me a reality check live, mate. It has, 100%.
When we look at that,
let me give you another one then. Let me give you another one, because you're right, this is another one. Everyone around us is signing players and we're not, right? Did this yesterday on the stream. Luton Town have signed 2, lost 10. Sheffield United have signed 3, lost 11. Burnley have signed 5. 2 of them were obligations to buy from last season, and both of those players are expected to leave. Tressor and the other guy's name is Esteve. They're both expected to leave this year. They had to buy them for 18 and 12 million because of an obligation last season. So they're gone. So their 5 signings becomes 3 signings, and they've lost 6. You look at, say, Middlesbrough, for example, signed 3, lost 4. Leeds have signed 3, lost a ton. But of the bulk that they've lost, 90% of them weren't here last year, or were on a bench that weren't being used.
We've lost 2 in reality, haven't we? We've lost Kamara and Gray.
And we've seen the news tonight
with Vober and Rothwell and Aronson. So you can add 3 more to that.
We've seen the news tonight as well that Gus Hamer's got a relegation release clause in it, Sheffield United, which is music to my ears because I was worried because he's a top player at this level. Makes me laugh because O'Hare was in his interview saying, Gus has been getting on to me saying, when you coming, and he's fucking leaving. Good. Well,
it's not the world on fire that everyone thinks it is.
No,
far from it.
No. Yeah, I've taken my medicine. We'll see what it's like in a couple. We'll see what it's like in a couple of days if Bogle's still not signed, because I'll be back. Yeah. It doesn't take me long to flip back.
I'm giving it till tomorrow morning.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I think that's it. Unless anyone's got anything else they'd like to add. Joe?
I don't think we did that much of being mad at Peru, but I think we're all mad at Peru for exactly the same reason. So there's not really a chat to be had.
His touch is so bad, Joe. His touch is so bad. So bad.
His first touch needs to be a shot for it to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
But if you replace him, he's a fantastic bench option.
100%.
at this level. So therefore,
Would you say a game changer? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe a game changer. Because my favorite thing from last season. It'd be amazing. But yeah, and the same with Aronson. I wouldn't start Aronson most of the time, to be honest. You know, or if you play him on the right wing. You imagine championship teams who have had 60 minutes worth of Dan James and then 30 minutes worth of Aronson. They're gonna be dead on their feet. Like, you know, they cannot cope with that. So for me, instead of Dan James being the impact sub, it would be Aronson for me, because Dan James has earned loyalty at this club, I think, to be given that starting lineup.
I think you've made a very interesting point there, Evie, about Aronson on the right.
Yeah.
Because
that's why I wouldn't play him as a 10. I'd play him on the right. Personally.
His best performance for me was right wing against Crystal Palace in the first half of the game against Crystal Palace away in the Premier League. He was phenomenal on the wing, and then they put him back in the 10 the second half and he went out of the game. He's really good at the wing because he likes to run at people, and I think if you give him the wing, I think he's very, very good. Too many options in the middle.
And we wouldn't be playing with a 10 in a 3-4-3 anyway. You almost play with two people, two inside forwards, don't you, behind the 9. So yeah, good shout.
Yeah,
it's a good shout.
It's gonna be a good season. Listen, from me to you folks, genuinely, I just want to say thank you all for coming on, and you making this show like a possibility and all that sort of stuff. It's been genuinely buzzing to do the watch along and then just come on here and talk Leeds and have banter and have a laugh and all that sort of stuff. So genuinely, it's great to have yous on as well. It's great to have people watching as well. Make sure you go check out Joe Blackburn, Joe Leeds United, The View, Luke ought to know better. Evie, channel coming soon?
It will in 2026,
2026, right, okay.
Yeah,
we will be there.
Offline.
We will be there. And with that, we'll leave it there. Honestly, amazing. I'm so happy. Thank you all for being here. Peace out, folks. Bye-bye.